Welcome, viewers and listeners, to another Arcade Attack Desert Island Diskettes. I'm Dylan. I'll be your host today, and I've got a very special guest. I've got Sam Dyer, who is the creative director and supremo of Bitmap Books. Welcome, Sam.
Thanks, Dylan. Great to be on.
Thank you for joining the show, mate. As our viewers and listeners will know, Bitmap Books are the leading, I would say, publisher of retro gaming books, and they're just outstanding, really. Let's just get straight to the promo, because you've got a new book out, haven't you? It's called Leaps and Bounds. You want to give us a quick summary of what Leaps and Bounds is all about?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. So this is something, a book on console sort of history in general is something that we wanted to do for a while. Because those who know our sort of catalogue of books, we do a lot of things around the genres of games,
Yeah.
and maybe focusing on different sort of software houses, but we've never actually looked at like a book just about console history. So I was approached by a designer a couple of years ago with the sort of the concept of the book, and he come up with this really nice sort of design style, and I immediately sort of fell in love with it.
Yeah.
And I just really like the idea of sort of showcasing, these 9 generations of consoles, and the book sort of shows, starting right from the beginning, and how they've evolved, how the tech has evolved over the years. And also we've shown, so there's like illustrations of the consoles and also screenshots of the games as well. So you can also see how the software has evolved over that period. And there's also bits of trivia in there as well, and little nuggets of information. So it's it's been a different one for us, but it's been there we are.
I actually have it right here. So here you go. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you can see it, and it is beautiful. It's also quite big. If you can see that. So 9 generations of console is apparently over 300 pages of a book.
Yeah.
So that is pretty awesome. And it is everything Sam just said. Look at this. I've just randomly put it on the color TV game 6. There you go. There's a blast from the past.
Loads of like
These images, they are really something else. And I've started playing my way through it, but I had to go to my favorite one, which is my first console, which is the Sega Master System, and it's the Power Base one. Look at that. It's by the concept is by a chap called Hans Kleinberg.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, this is beautiful. So you've got obviously the console there, and then you've got, I think that's Alex Kidd, is it?
Yeah,
that's Alex Kidd there. And it's just every page is a joy, and it just, it perfectly sort of encapsulates the technical advances of, all of the consoles that we grew up with, and it's really great. It must have taken, let's see, who did all the words? So you've done the design, of course. Stu Shearer has done a lot of writing on this, hasn't he?
Yeah. So Stu did a great job with the writing. We previously worked with Stu on our N64 visual compendium.
Yeah.
He was really great to work with, and the illustrations in there are done by a guy called Adam Ruffino, who we've worked with before as well. Like really beautiful isometric illustrations of each console, which took him hours and hours and hours.
Oh my God, they're so beautiful.
Yeah, really cool.
There you go. Amiga CD32 there. Look at that one. That's a beaut, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, I really love it. And this is available now?
Yeah, it's available now from our website. Yeah.
Perfect. Go to Bitmap Books. Check it out, guys. That's really great. So another reason for me getting Sam on the show, obviously being someone who likes to preserve video gaming history, would be perfect to choose 5 games to keep them entertained on a desert island. So for people who have not seen Desert Island Discs before, Diskettes, sorry, I'm stealing the BBC one already. So you're on an island, you're stranded on an island, you've got 5 games of your choice there you go, 5 games of your choice to keep you occupied for you don't know how long. But some of the other rules: no internet, so you can't go and play anything online. No compendiums of other games. No. And you can't Obviously, there's no one on the island to play with, so you can't do any kind of local co-op. And you're like, yeah, you've no idea when you'd be saved. So yeah, so we're gonna really dive in to Sam's choices. But before we start, just a little shout out to all of our previous guests. We've had some really good ones, some guys from around the community. If you know anyone who would like to join the show, if you'd like to promote anything, or if you're a content creator, then please do get in touch, because obviously we want to hear about people's histories, and how you survived the island. Yeah, you can have any gaming setup you want. So, Sam, your first choice for the island would be
The Secret of Monkey Island.
The Secret of Monkey Island. And what platform is that on? What platform would you have that on?
I've gone for Amiga just because that's what I grew up playing.
Yeah, yeah,
Not necessarily the best version, but that's the one I grew up. So the way I've sort of approached this is obviously thinking I'm on a desert island. I don't want anything. I want something that's going to get some decent gameplay out of.
yeah.
Something like that I'd quite happily play through that, I think. Again.
What Amiga would you have? So your Amiga setup, what would your dream Amiga setup be? And we're quite happy for you to have it on the island.
Oh, my dream. Well, there was a lot of discs with the Secret of Monkey Island.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I had one external floppy drive, and there was still a lot of swapping. So I'd probably have some sort of internal, an Amiga 1200 with some sort of internal hard drive.
Yeah,
That would be great.
yeah.
And I'd also love a trackball as well.
Oh yeah,
Because that's the best way to play point and click games, in my opinion. So yeah.
You didn't want the standard Amiga mouse with the ball that got jammed up with gunk, and don't want one of them? Sure.
No. What, having to take the ball out and then scrape the gunk wheels? Yeah.
I can't believe it. I used to have to get like an earbud and get on the contacts and like scrape it all out. Ugh. Good times. I also had an A1200. How old were you when you had your first Amiga? Is this something that you grew up with when you were, or did you get experienced it later on in life?
Probably about 11 or 12, I think. About 11 or 12, something like that. I took, I really wanted, because I originally had an Atari ST because it had been handed down to me by my uncle.
Yeah.
All my friends had Amigas and I had an Atari. There was nothing wrong with the Atari ST, but couldn't obviously swap games, and I did feel a little bit left out. So my parents said, if you save up half, I think it was, or I can't remember what it was. Anyway, at the time, I had to do chores and stuff to try and save up some money, and I managed to do it in the end, and I got an A600.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Obviously, wasn't the greatest, but it was, at the time, it was amazing.
I loved it. It was like nice and dinky, and my mate had one, and I was really jealous of it. Yeah, that's kind of actually what made me want to nag my parents to get an A1200 again when I was 11 years old. So yeah, I'm totally with you on that. Secret of Monkey Island. There, for people who don't know, who Monkey Island is, in a nutshell, what is the Secret of Monkey Island?
Well, it's an adventure game. But more specifically, it's a point and click adventure game. So it's controlled with a mouse. So you literally have like a crosshair on the screen. So you use the left button to click around the screen to where you want your character to go.
Guybrush Threepwood. Yeah.
He was like a real goofy sort of like pirate character. And then you had to try and navigate through like a storyline and interact with the environment, but using objects you'd find, and then you'd have like a series of verbs at the bottom of the screen, like use, open, close, talk. And you'd have to work your way through the game, talking to people, using objects within the screen, or combining objects within your inventory. So it wasn't anything new in that sense, but it obviously built on previous sort of like text adventures and other sorts of adventure games. But I absolutely loved this, the point and click interface. And I think with the Secret Monkey Island, for me, it was just the story of Guybrush and his adventures, and it was just so tough as well. This was before the days of the internet, so work it out yourself. And I think this is why a lot of people don't like some of these point and click games because they don't make a lot of sense. Some of the puzzles, and
No.
there are, there's a lot of trial and error of just literally talking to everyone and
Yeah.
use objects within other objects, and it can
Yeah.
be quite, um, it can be a bit laborious.
Yeah.
Uh, but there's just something about that story that just really captivated me as a child, and I loved playing through it, and just like that nostalgia now of the, even just talking about it now, like the pixel art and the music. Like, do you remember the code wheel that came with
Code
it?
wheel. Yeah. These are the
Well,
things that they tried to use to block us out.
yeah.
Yeah. Big confession, I did borrow Monkey Island off one of the other Arcade Attack members, Adrian. And yeah, with that, he gave me many photocopies of the
Oh,
wheel
yeah.
in various positions.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it
No,
wasn't comprehensive, so sometimes I couldn't get into the game. But this is it, isn't it? Like the whole Amiga thing, being able to copy games. I know I did buy a lot of games. Don't worry. I know we have a lot of Amiga friends and Amiga legends that watch the show. Look, I did buy games. Don't worry.
yeah.
But yeah, just be able to share stuff and play these games and yeah, trying to get around the copy protection and Monkey Island. That one is it's still my favorite. I think of the series. I know there's been lots. There's been goes at trying to make it 3D, and they've brought back this new. Well, they've brought it back and with a whole new. I haven't played the new one. Don't know if you've played the new one.
No, I haven't, no.
But yeah, absolute legends. We've had a lot of the guys that have worked on
Yeah.
on the show, which has been really great. The humor is another thing. I think
Yeah.
a lot of those point and click games, it was very humorous, and it kept you entertained. I think again when you say about trying to find these puzzles and getting stuck, and I've done that. I did that on loads. I played a game called Operation Stealth.
Oh, yeah, I know that one, yeah.
Did you
Yeah.
have that one? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think so, briefly. It was also co-branded as a James Bond game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
007, I think it was, yeah.
It was, oh, what do they call him? They call him John something. Or
Yeah.
it
Why
was
not?
such a rip-off. But again, Delphine made some great games, and
Yeah.
they also did the whole point and click thing. And I don't know, did you ever play those typing games before that? I think they're possibly might be a little bit before our time.
Yeah,
The ones we have to actually type in the walk to room.
yeah,
Like that Hitchhiker's Guide one.
I always get a bit mixed up with timelines about what games I played at what times because I got,
Yeah.
I know my dad worked in an office, and I remember him bringing home a PC at one point, and I remember playing Leisure Suit Larry,
Oh
which
yes.
obviously
Yeah.
felt quite grown up at the time because of
Yeah.
the humour in that, but that definitely had like a text parser, so you had to literally
Yeah.
type open door. But
Yeah.
I'm just not quite sure whether that came before or after playing Monkey Island.
Yeah.
But on my Commodore 64, I did used to play text adventures as well.
Yeah.
Um, text adventures. So I've always loved that sort of type of game, and I think, yeah, it's just it's. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I do like arcade games where you can have a quick blast here and there, but I just love really getting into a game and immersed in it. I think that's what
It,
Monkey Island did so well.
yeah. With Monkey Island, it's like being in a movie, isn't it? It's basically like
Yeah,
playing. It's just like working your way around a cool movie.
yeah,
It was
and
great.
it's the amount of time. I mean, we must have spent like walking to one side of the island. Oh, I need to go and talk to that person, and
Yeah.
oh no, and you have to keep walking. It's just the amount of time it must have taken us, and so much
Yeah.
patience.
Yeah. I remember the little map and yeah, going around, and then obviously then you have the little fights with the insults and things. And
Yeah, it's hilarious.
it's such a good game. Did you ever complete it back in the day?
Not back in the day, no. I think I got about three-quarters way through it, but as I said, it was before the internet, so I literally couldn't. I had a friend, well, not a friend, a guy, local guy who ran a computer shop in where I grew up.
Yeah.
He was a bit older, and he used to help me out at times, but yeah, I don't think I ever completed it. I think I
Yeah.
might have completed the second one, but definitely not the first one.
Yeah. Again, confession time. I never completed it. I got it on the Xbox 360, the Xbox Live Marketplace to try and go through it again, and no. So I'll just watch a walkthrough and see how it ended.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, no, yeah, great game. I think that'll keep you entertained for a good couple of days. I think that's solid. Let's move on then. What's the second? What will be the second game that you take?
It's a very excuse me, very different type of game. So I've gone with Sensible World of Soccer.
Sensible World of Soccer.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
For people who don't know what Sensible World of Soccer is, it's the best football game ever
yeah,
made. There you
officially.
go. Or
Yeah.
soccer for our
Kick
for our American listeners.
Kick-off
Uh,
fan, but yeah.
what
Um,
what makes SWAT special?
I think it's well, if you actually take the actual game the actual gameplay, I think it's the simplicity of it. So those
Mm,
I don't think there's anyone who's listened to this, who's listening or watching to this has never seen Sensible Soccer before. But if
mhm,
you haven't, it's like a vertical football game, but with very sort of low resolution sprites. I
mhm.
don't know the exact dimensions, but very, very low resolution, but not in a blocky sort of way. It had like its own charm and it looked great. But it was the gameplay that was just so fast. It was pass, 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 shoot. It was really crisp. It
Yeah,
was all about gameplay. Um,
yeah.
it had little bits of humor in there as well, and it just
Mhm,
felt fun. And I remember the first time I ever played, I think it was Amiga format. Remember they used to do
mhm.
demo discs,
Yeah.
and it was a Manchester United versus Norwich City, just did one match demo, and I
Yeah.
remember just playing the absolute hell out of that. And
Yeah,
then
'cause, John Hare is a Norwich City fan, isn't
yeah,
he?
that's right,
Yeah.
that's right. And I think also they did like oranges versus lemons, sort of kind of they did real sort of fun sort of things. And then they did one called Cannon Soccer, which
Yeah.
was yeah, with with the where you could throw grenades on the football pitch and stuff.
Yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
So like,
Sensible Software are legendary, really. We've had John on the show. We've had Stu Cambridge on the
yeah,
show. Uh,
legends.
they are really great guys, super humorous as well. They like you say, like they take they do everything with a pinch of salt. They and Sensible Soccer was. I'm guessing you're sticking with the A1200 for this.
Yeah,
The Amiga's gonna be running this. Yeah,
yeah,
I had the international edition. I think
yeah.
when I the Amiga, uh, which had a lot of teams on it already.
Yeah, there was
And
quite
then
a big difference, wasn't there? Different versions of it. I never really keep up with them.
yeah, yeah. There were quite a few. And then SWAS was just like, right, we'll just give you every club in the world. We'll give you every league in the world. We'll give you the stupid teams as well. And yeah, off you go. Question though, is it as fun in solo player as it is in multiplayer?
I think so. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I used to play it equally, probably as in two player as well with
Yeah.
mates. But yeah, no, I think so.
It's
I
got a
think
good challenge. It's got I think SWAS had maybe multiple challenge levels as well, difficulty
yeah.
levels.
And obviously, the thing that SWAS did, or Central World of Soccer, is that it added a manager mode, which was what I was most
Yeah,
interested in. So it because I've been a massive fan of Premier Manager on the Amiga.
yeah, yeah,
Wait,
good.
So when Sensible Soccer then integrated a manager mode where you could buy players and sell players and run your club, it was just like, oh my god, this is amazing. And
Yeah,
you could buy you could if you wanted a really easy game, you could play like someone from the Serbian third division or something. And I think John's probably talks about it when you interviewed him, but they actually put the data in for all of these teams all around the world. It's
yeah,
incredible amount of
yeah,
data on players, and each little character. I don't know how many pixels it is. Probably I don't know, 8 by 8 or whatever it is. But each one has like different coloured skin or hair or little kits, and they started having their own little personalities.
it's
And
brilliant. Yeah, how it
fantastic.
all came together is unbelievable. But the best thing I think, I remember my ex saying years ago, like, "Why are you playing that?" Because still play pretty much every month, and I got it on Sensible World of Soccer is on Xbox again.
Yeah,
Uh, and yeah, I was just playing. I'd just be playing just friendlies, just with random teams. And she's like, "Why
yeah,
are you playing that?" I'm like, "What?" But it's just the charm of it and the
yeah,
control of it. And because with an Amiga, you only had one button. If you want to play anything with more buttons, you have to try and use the keyboard. And I remember Flashback having to try and use the keyboard playing that game. But it was just so perfect. And I went for a few of those joysticks. I don't know what your joystick of choice would be. I remember
Well,
there was Oh, I forgot what they're called now. There was the one with the yellow buttons. That one went.
The
That
zip
one.
stick.
Yeah, maybe. And then there was the one with the red and blue buttons at the top. That got broken by Sensi. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say if I had to take a joystick, it'd probably be the Competition Pro or the zip stick.
Oh, come on. Okay.
It's got to be that click when
Yeah,
you
the
play
clicks. Yeah, yeah.
click, when you
You've
do
got to
nice
have the clicks.
when you can
Yeah.
often one of the cool things that Sensible Soccer did, and also Kickoff did, to be fair, was
Mm,
the after touch, so you could bend the ball
yeah.
afterwards, so you could really sort of yank on the Competition Pro and try and get it in the top corner. It's brilliant.
Which is better, do you reckon, Sensi or Kickoff?
Oh, Sensi. I never. No, I've got full respect for Kickoff.
Yeah,
Dino Dini's an amazing programmer, but I just never. It just never did anything for me. I played goal a bit more, but again,
yeah,
it just I was never quite in control of the ball, and I know that's kind of the whole point is that
yeah,
you've got to master that. It just felt a
yeah,
little bit like I thought Sensible Soccer was just so much tighter, personally.
yeah. Yeah, it is. I think it just takes everything that the Kickoff established and just made it better. So
Yeah,
sorry, Dino. I do
yeah,
just stick to Sensi these days, but, you
yeah,
know, we might do a podcast on Kickoff in the future. We'll see.
yeah, cool.
Brilliant. I mean, that'll keep you. I mean, just the manager mode
Wow,
alone.
that's what I was
Um,
thinking.
before I spoil the rest of your choices, you don't have any Football Manager games in your other three choices, do you?
No,
Good. How much do you like Football Manager games? Let's have a
love
quick
them.
chat about those.
Love them, but not modern ones. I'm talking
No?
old. So back on my Amiga, it was Premier Manager 1,
Yeah.
2, and 3.
Yeah.
It's one called Ultimate Soccer Manager. Have you
Oh,
ever heard
yes.
of?
Well, you could build a stadium and stuff. Ah,
Yeah,
so
you could offer bungs on players, and you could go on teletext and stuff. It was just beautiful, beautiful looking.
that was a great game. I did have Premier Manager 3.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, love that with the telephone and I put all the
Oh,
little cheats on the telephone and the fax machine. It was a bit
yeah,
like because I used to love watching the scores come in on a Saturday
yeah, yeah,
with the
yeah.
fax machine. Oh, it was just
Yeah, yeah. Well, we had just as a little aside, it was like a bit of a traumatic moment. But me and a mate were playing. I think it was Premier Manager 2,
mm,
and we were playing it on 2 player, which was a cool thing you could do anyway.
yeah,
We each had our own team, and I don't know how many seasons we'd done, but he'd come to mine pretty much every day after school, and we'd play, a season or whatever. And we both got into the Premier League, and I can even remember. I think I was Newcastle, and he was Nottingham Forest.
yeah.
And another mate of ours, we lent him the disc or something, or like my Amiga, and he accidentally or whatever he erased the save disc.
Ah,
So he lost all of that work, and I can remember at the time it was really gutting. But yeah, just the amount of hours put into Premier Manager and
yeah.
unbelievable.
Same. It was
So
good how you could just flick between 2 players. I think I did that just so I could bankrupt one club and then
yeah,
give and then give
yeah,
give
yeah,
myself loads of money. Um, but yeah, I know it's a great game. I do play the new ones. I do like Football Manager is still pretty decent. I don't know about the really new one, but the one from a couple of years ago, I think is worth looking at if anyone is
yeah.
interested. Yeah. Excellent. So football takes a second pick. Love it. Uh, game number 3. What are we having?
So this one is really this one is a nostalgia pick for me.
Mm.
It's Batman the movie on the Commodore 64.
Oh wow. Okay. I never played that version. I played it on the Amiga, I think.
Yeah,
Um,
so similar.
go on. Tell us a bit more about your C64
Oh,
running Batman the movie.
yeah, I could talk about my Commodore 64 all day. Yeah,
Go on.
so this first computer I ever had, and
Yeah.
it was just unbelievable. Absolutely loved my Commodore 64, and
How old were you when you got your first
I'm
computer?
not sure. I must be like 8 or 9, I think. It
Yeah.
was around about 1989,
Yeah.
and it was handed down again by my uncle, which is obviously a very kind uncle.
Yeah.
And I remember it really well because it was just set up in the front room under the telly. And my dad just said, "Oh, your uncle's given you this."
Yeah.
He didn't know anything about computers,
Yeah.
really, but it was just left up to me to work out how to use it and
Mhm.
load software. And you just do it at that age, don't you? Just sort of work it out.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think at the time I had a game called Theatre Europe, which was a Cold War simulator, which probably wasn't the best thing for an 8-year-old to be playing. But you basically mash the keys and there'd be like a nuclear explosion.
Okay, all right. Bit
Uh,
close to that one. All right.
yeah, and a few other bits of software like international soccer and stuff. But
Yeah.
I think one of them must have been the Christmas after getting it, or the one after that. My nan at the time bought me Batman the movie, and
Yeah.
it's just like it's so weird when you're a kid, you just have these really strong memories, don't you? And like if I close my eyes, I can picture opening that present and that black box with the gold Batman logo on it. Actually got here. That's what if I don't trash my office, get it.
Oh, here we go.
So yeah, so
Oh,
that's
beautiful. Look
yeah.
at that.
Beautiful. So I remember seeing that and then thinking, "Oh my god, it's amazing! It's Batman and really cool." And yeah, the actual game is by Ocean Software, and it's like a
Yep.
multi-level sort of game. So the first is like a platformy
Mm.
section when you're in the chemical factory and you've got to kill the Joker or knock him into
Yeah.
the atmosphere. Yeah,
Yep.
and then second stage is like a bit of a driving one, and then there's a
Yeah.
puzzle one, and then there's a flying one, and then another platform one. But yeah, it's just really for this, it's just nostalgia because whenever I look at that box or look at the graphics on the
Yeah.
game or play it, it just instantly takes me back to being like, happy times when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And also the memories associated with that person who gifted it to me.
Yeah.
Uh, so
What
yeah,
is it? Is it the tape version or is it cartridge? What is that one?
tape.
Tape.
Tape's what I played. Yeah, so that's the version I played. And also, obviously, with the Commodore 64, one of the things that I did love the most was when you loaded the games on tape, you got the loading screen as
Oh
well.
yeah. Hmm.
Really, where my love for game art came from is sort of
Yeah.
staring at those screens as they were
Oh
loading.
yeah. Mhm.
When and obviously you wouldn't have got that on cartridges and stuff.
Totally with you on that. Um, Yes, my mate had a C64 and he had lots of those multi-game tapes. So
Yeah,
most of my hours spent with a C64 are watching those loading screens, crossing all your fingers, hoping that it loaded, and then it
yeah,
not loading, and then us going to do something else. So I'm guessing the game itself would probably take you about half an hour to
yeah,
finish, maybe half an hour. But actually loading the thing and actually getting it to work might take you more hours. So
yeah,
actually, it'd be like a
yeah.
half a day's. It'd be half a day's entertainment.
I think, com- I think to be fair, Commodore 64 tapes seem to be quite stable compared
Yes.
to
Yeah.
like FedEx Spectrum,
You meant
where
the second ones. Yeah.
like done over the audio. I think it's done a different way. They seem to be a bit more sort of,
Yeah.
bit more
Less
temperamental.
reliant on the volume stuff,
Yeah,
perhaps, than some of those other ones, the Amstrad CPC and things like that. But
yeah. But
right.
no, it's a massive game for me, and I met it's the musician Matthew Cannon. I met him at a gaming event back in 2015, and I was just like, he must have who's this weirdo? And I was like, sort of like the sort of famous person I've met and got him to sign my game and stuff like that. But it's
Amazing.
just bizarre
Amazing.
to see someone's name on a screen when you're a kid.
Yeah,
Like,
and they're like a hero, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, he was like embarrassed to think that anyone would be, he was anyone's hero. But
Yeah.
then you will, meet them like 20 years later. It's kind of bizarre, but yeah, very cool.
I remember meeting Charles Cecil,
Yeah,
who is met him at Play Expo a few years ago, or many years ago now, and that was just like I was geeking out pretty hard, man. But I guess he's had that a fair bit. I suppose game designers do get that, but yeah. But if you just randomly bump into people and they're not expecting it, they'll be like, "What planet are you on?" But this is this is why we love retro gaming. This is us. This is our thing, isn't it? So, were you a fan of Batman, the original movie?
oh yeah, yeah. I was probably a little bit young at the time to be watching it, but like now, obviously, a few years later, I've seen it, and it's yes, absolutely, it's
Yeah,
a brilliant movie, isn't it?
that bit where Jack Nicholson falls into the chemicals and becomes Joker, I will never forget that. That
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
is
The soundtrack and everything, it's brilliant, isn't it? The whole like sort of Tim Burton,
oh,
his
it,
approach to it was he gave it a real good edge.
yeah, it's such a good movie. And then Batman Returns went a bit bonkers, and then everything else went a bit
Yeah,
Went a
yeah.
bit wrong until Christian Bale came about. But yeah, a solid movie. I will try that. I will definitely check that game out on an emulator somewhere just to see if it's any good. Um, but just yeah, obviously I won't see it with your rose tinted
No, yeah.
goggles. But yeah, great. Okay, so Batman the movie, Commodore 64, number 3. We've only got 2 more games left to help you get off the island. What's number 4?
Street Fighter 2.
Okay. All right, bringing out the big guns.
Yeah.
What would you have to play it on? Please don't say the Amiga.
No, no. Yeah, I had that. That was a big mistake. No,
Oh, yeah.
it'd have to be the arcade machine.
The arcade machine. All right. So which Street Fighter 2 are you going for? There's quite a few. Which
Original. Just the
the
original.
original,
Yeah.
the 8 character one. Not going for Champion Edition, not going
No,
for Hyper
no,
Edition.
no, just going for the original. This because
Wow.
that's what I remember.
Wow. In a nutshell, then, what Street Fighter? Actually, I'll
No.
say Street Fighter 2. If you don't know what it's about,
Yeah.
is the World Fighter. What's it called? The World. I can't
Oh,
remember.
Warrior. Yeah.
World Warrior. Thank you. Yeah, and it basically pits. It's a one-on-one fighting game, and it's. I think it's I think it's the best one-on-one fighting game ever
Yeah.
ever made, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got protagonists like Ken, Ryu, everyone else, but you're not going to play with them Bison. You're not going to play as Vega. You're going to
Right.
stick with these guys. What makes Street Fighter 2 special then?
Again, I think there's some nostalgia. Although it is obviously a brilliant game and it still plays great today, there's a lot of nostalgia associated with this one because I grew up near the seaside. So when growing up in arcades, I remember when certain arcade machines first came out and people crowding around them, and I was only 11 at the time when this came out, 11 or 12. So it was normally the older kids that were. I just used to stand there watching them, and they'd be doing all these crazy combinations, and you'd just be, oh my god, how the hell are they doing that? And they'd be smoking, and there'd be like fag burns in the machine, and all the noise. It just felt so grown up.
Yeah, yeah.
It was just one of those and whenever there was no one around, I would have a go and be really bad at it, but I'd be too intimidated to play it when, all like the older kids were around. It's a game that I've never been that great at, but my thinking is obviously on a desert island, I'd have all the time in the world, so I can basically just get good at it. And I just train myself and just get better and better and better. That would be my aim. But it's one of those games that whenever I load up my machine behind me, or it's always one of my go-to games, and something just draws me to it every time for some reason. It's just such a great game, So
I play it every couple of days at least.
Yeah, wow.
I've got the Street Fighter collection on my Switch, which has got all the obviously up there the arcade version, so they're tougher. But all the Street Fighter 2s, the original one, which is how it went from Street Fighter 1 to Street Fighter 2, I'll never know. And then all the later ones like Third Strike and all of them ones. But yeah, Street Fighter 2, always hyper fight. So I'd have the same, but I'd have the hyper fighting console just quicker, and I'd want to just be Vega and just jump around a lot and make funny noises as I jump off the little great game. Who is your character of choice then when you load it up? I mean, mine's Ken, I reckon.
Yeah, Ken.
Who's your
Ken or Ryu, one of those two. They're both the same, aren't they? Or
they used to be people used to say, "Oh, Ken's a bit quicker," and Ryu's he's a bit more focused. Yeah, but no. What had happened was, if you lost as one of them, you'd go back to the continue screen and then just choose the other one, and then and you just go again and keep on going until you could get past Blanca or Gala or whatever.
Yeah.
But no, it's a solid game, isn't it? It is. Go on.
Such great character designs as well. Like you were saying about different characters from Gala and Blanca and stuff, and just they have their own personalities. And I remember the first time I saw like someone get to the bosses section like Balrog and Vega. It's just like, oh my god, they've made it that far, and there'd be people around the machine seeing if they could complete it and stuff. It was just such excitement.
That would be okay. I'll give you that. That would be when you actually see the bosses for the first time. The first time I saw Street Fighter 2 was on the SNES.
Okay.
My primary school had the
Oh,
SNES version, and I remember being like just like the advert for it. I don't know if you remember it, where like you see like Blanca going "Ugh," and just it just looked so amazing. I just
yeah.
watching him play it. But then yeah, obviously you got to Bullrog slash M Bison. Obviously they changed it for copyright reasons. I was like, what is this stage? Where has this come from? Yeah, seeing that for the first time would be pretty on the arcade machine. We had loads of knockoff ones in Croydon. We had
Right.
the do you see the ones where it was kind of like they must have had different boards in them, but all the outfits were the wrong colours. So I know later obviously they added all like so you can have, Ken in green or whatever. But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it was just it was really and it was solid. You'd put in 20p and then you just lose the first game.
I've
Just
not
put in
seen that
another
one.
20p.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, That's great.
Cool.
Like Street Fighter 2. Well, how does it fare against something like Mortal Kombat?
Well, actually, Mortal Kombat was another one that I think it was one of those moments in the arcade where I was like, "Wow, this feels like a big jump," and there was a lot of buzz around that. Um, I think
Were
for
you
me,
yeah, you a fan of it? Because the thing with Mortal Kombat is
I am.
I was never a massive fan of it. I found it a bit
I'm not a fighting game aficionado or anything, so I'm not like, approaching it from like that sort of standpoint. I'm just thinking of what my enjoyment of playing them. Um, I personally wouldn't go back to Mortal Kombat now, but back in the day, I did play it a lot, particularly on a friend had it on the Mega Drive and on the Master System as well.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, from a fighting game point of view, I think they're quite sort of similar in their sort of standing, aren't they,
Mm,
within that sort of as far as fighting games go.
yeah. Street Fighter 2 all the way. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah.
That's solid. So your final pick to have on the island, Sam, what would it be?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Gran Turismo on the PS1.
Wow, original Gran Turismo on the
Yeah.
PS1.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So
So
Gran Turismo in a nutshell for people who don't know what Gran Turismo
yeah,
is.
so it's a driving game, essentially, but with a massive, aspect of realism in there as well. So it wasn't an arcade racer. It added, like, amazing physics, to the driving, and you could an amazing selection of licensed cars as well, and each one had its own handling and
Yeah.
it's just so cool. I mean, like, for me personally, my gaming journey was a bit strange because I didn't sort of go incremental on systems. I think I went Amiga, and
Yeah.
then after Amiga, for some reason, I went back collecting the Commodore 64 again. I was often nostalgic even for the Commodore 64 as a teenager.
Yeah.
And at the time, nobody wanted Commodore 64 games, so you could find them in charity shops, like
Mm,
buckets of them for like. So anyway, so I did that, and then I eventually got a PS1. So there was like a massive leap for me, really, in gaming. And yeah, I remember I've always been into driving games, and when I saw Gran Turismo. I mean, like, if anyone who's seen it before, just the graphics, just
mm,
unbelievable, and how smooth it is and realistic it is to play.
yeah.
Um, and the way you have to grind through it and win races and upgrade your car and, add turbos and better tires and better exhausts and all that sort of stuff. And then you can eventually get better cars. You can enter better races. So cool. And like, I just remember at the time, just honestly, just blew me away.
It's
Um,
an amazing yeah,
yeah,
it was. It just took racing games to another level. I remember being frustrated with how realistic it was
yeah, I know
compared
what
to
you
stuff I've played before, because 'cause I'd played stuff
yeah,
like Outrun and Chase
yeah,
HQ and Lotus Turbo Challenge, and that was I love that. Love those games on the Amiga. Um,
yeah.
but then you play Gran Turismo, and it's like you have to slow down.
No,
For
that's
for
yeah. I mean, but I suppose I was thinking, been on a desert island, I'm gonna have the
there's no
time
roads. Yeah,
for
there's
it.
no
Oh,
roads
yeah.
there. Yeah,
So in
yeah,
so I can properly master it
yeah,
again, I suppose, all these years later.
yeah. That's really good. That's a really good choice. You a big fan of like Ridge Racer, things like that on the PlayStation, or is this more your vibe?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, I mean, I have played it. I didn't have it back in the day, Ridge Racer, but I have played it obviously like more recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've just always maybe veered more towards the more realistic racing games, like rather than stuff like Sega Rally that is a bit more arcadey.
Or Sega Rally. See, this is where I think me I mean, some of the boys do like Gran Turismo, but the arcade ones I would probably lead towards because, yeah, something like Sega Rally,
Yeah, I
amazing.
mean, it is great. It is, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah. 3 track though, guys, come on, give us more. Ridge Racer was worse, I think. I think one of the Ridge Racers might have only had 1 or 2, but yeah, they were
yeah,
it just I'm my gaming journey is very similar to you. So so I started off with a Master System, then got my Amiga, and then really wanted a Mega Drive. So I went back to the Mega Drive, and then spent years pining for a PS1 until my dad finally caved in and gave me one, and then that was it. And then it was all
right.
this just 3D from then. But yeah, a Gran Turismo, that's a lot of stuff to do, isn't it? Got a lot of cars to collect. You've got a got a lot of races to do. So that
Exactly.
you can beat
Well,
them.
you've only got a lot of time on a desert island, so that'd be ideal.
Yeah, yeah. Do you still play the games now? Do you still play the new Gran Turismos or
No,
is that
no. I mean, since having children and obviously doing Bitmap, I don't get a massive amount of time for gaming. What I do is probably just more retro
yeah,
stuff on that rather than because my son's got a PS5, but he's constantly playing Fortnite and
yeah,
FIFA on that, so it's hard to have the time you need nowadays to properly dedicate to games like
yes. Yeah, totally with you, mate. Yeah, again,
that.
being a dad and being older now, I was about to say old. We are older, older now. Yeah, just a different retro stuff. And your books are a great way of doing that. And actually, one thing I meant to do earlier was wish Bitmap Books a happy 12th anniversary.
Well, thank you. Yes, yeah, it was yesterday. Amazing.
Yeah, because I got the email through and I was like, "That's funny. That's good timing."
Yeah.
12 years ago. So, thank you for your choices. I think they're brilliant choices. But let's talk a bit about Bitmap Books before you go. So, what inspired you? What's your sort of background? What inspired you to start Bitmap Books? And obviously that first Kickstarter, which was about the C64.
Yeah. So, I'm a graphic designer and have been since the early 2000s. And at the time, around about the time I sort of set up Bitmap, I was I was a I was a designer working in an agency, and I had a great job, but the sort of design work I was doing for the sort of clients, they just weren't the sort of things that I was interested in.
Yeah,
Like more corporate side of things, and I was feeling a little bit like I wanted to express my creativity, I suppose, if you could say.
yeah,
So had some spare time in the evenings and weekends, and I'd seen a couple of gaming books emerge
mhm,
from other publishers, and I thought to myself, I'd quite like to do something like that myself,
mm,
and just started playing around. Really, as I said, just as a way of sort of letting off some steam in the evenings, and
yeah,
Commodore 64 felt like a great starting point because obviously that was my first computer. So started playing around with some layouts for a
yeah,
book, and it really just sort of grew from there. I mean, this was really before Bitmap Books. This was just me playing around,
yeah,
and then I think at the time I was involved in the Retro Hour podcast,
yeah,
so I'm kind of aware of the retro gaming community, and I was a part of it, if you like.
yeah,
And I think I must have sort of maybe shared some spreads for the book or talked about it, and
mhm,
there was some encouragement. Oh, you should really do that, and you should make it into a thing.
yeah,
And when I started to think, okay, obviously Kickstarter at the time was quite new,
yeah,
and I decided that I would try and give it a go and produce this book. Obviously, being a designer, that's
mhm,
the one advantage. I knew how to make a book and print things. So,
yeah,
it all started from there, really. And yeah, that Kickstarter campaign really had no idea how it was going to go. I think we got just under 1,000 backers. I think,
that's a
which
lot though for a
looking back
first
now, it was amazing. Yeah,
yeah,
it was amazing.
first
And
Kickstarter.
I remember thinking at the time, obviously this wasn't a job, or it was just like a bit of a hobby thing, and I
Yeah,
didn't succeed. And it was a bit like, oh wow, you know, um, I was sort of blown away by the success of it, and then it just really snowballed from there. Went on to and then did the Amiga book, and yeah, and then just kept on releasing them, and here I am now, really. But yeah, I mean, as I said, it all really just did start off as a hobby, which I think is a great way of starting any business, is starting
Yeah.
from that point rather than it being a purely business thing, if that makes sense. I think,
Absolutely. Yeah. We
yeah,
started Arcade Attack proper in 2014,
yeah,
same year. We did start the podcast a couple of years later, so obviously we started with the website. The website was just a hobby for me at the time, and now I'm a web content manager in my job and still do this. But yeah, no, well done. I mean, this book and all of them, I've got the Master System Compendium, and that's a beautiful book. It's like the sheer quality of these things, and we are of a generation where we like tactile things, we like books, we like to look at things, and we like video games. And I just randomly just put it on the PC Engine page, and there's a picture
yeah.
of Street Fighter.
Street
There you
Fighter,
go.
yeah.
But yeah, just really great. We do wish you all the best with this book. Again, leaps and bounds. Everyone, go, go to Bitmap Books. Please check it out. Sam, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you so much for all your choices. And yeah, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks, Dylan. Yeah, it's been really fun. Cheers.
You're very welcome. Listeners, viewers, if you want to follow, if you want to follow us, then please subscribe to the channel, like the video, that always helps us out. If you'd like to help us with our journey going forward, then please consider being a patron of ours. That's patreon.com/arcade attack. You get loads of little bonus podcasts and things as well on there. So from me and Sam, we'll say bye-bye.
Thank you.